Hello everyone! Do you like using your brain? Well, I do. Sometimes. And for Limbus, that's mostly the case when I'm thinking about what to play, as one thing I love in games is theorycrafting. And in our case, as we don't have much we can customize, most of it is based around team building. So that's what I want to talk about in this video. I first talk about the general ideas behind theorycrafting in games, focusing on Limbus, and how we can apply it before going into practice. Yes, we'll obviously mention the famous keywords. Now, if you're searching for team building on Google, you'll find theories about making a better environment for your works team. So like, sure, we do want sanity for our sinners, but that's not gonna help us. So let's just use the theorycraft aspect, which is the art, with big quotes, to search and optimize strategies in a game. Fun fact, I learned that the craft part apparently might have come from StarCraft. I thought it was meant for crafting strategies and stuff. Funny. Back on topic. As I said, this is about optimizing options in a game to make them work as best as we can, using most of what the game has to offer, from gameplay elements to hidden interactions. In Limbus Company, this is represented by the team building aspect, creating a team with ideas and equipping the right egos. Technically, this also includes the way to play once in a fight, but I'll focus on the preparations. Not because we are just pressing win rate, but because the game plan, aka the way we want to play, is something we also have to consider while making the team, so it is already taken into account. For all that concerns fights and the way to adapt and optimize the ones there, well, it can be a topic for another video. For now, I've tried making a simple drawing for what is, in my opinion, the pattern theorycrafting is done with. So the question is, what is the method for theorycrafting to make a functional team? Well, the start of any creation will be an idea, something you want to focus on. I might use the word concept as well, because otherwise it might become confusing. It can be anything. A way to play, a character, a synergy, some cool interaction, anything. To make a quick translation from Limbus, it can be an ID, an ego, some resonance, a faction, keywords, combination of keywords, etc. As long as you want to play it, we've got a start. The concept itself is an abstract construction, but it can be a gameplay element. Out of this concept, we make a core of gameplay. In our case, it will be a few decisive sinners/IDs we are basing ourselves on, like Blade Lineage Muscle if you want to play Blade Lineage. Yes, extremely simple example. It can and probably often will be blending with the ID, as one tends to pick IDs out of existing gameplay elements. Now the next part is to build around this core. This consists in adding gameplay elements that support it by either increasing its strengths or filling the weaknesses. Again, in Limbus' case, it's pretty much finishing the team, doing one of the two. There are several criteria for what is considered strength or weakness. For example, increasing the strengths for a slash core would be adding more slashes, while adding other types makes it more versatile. It depends on what usage you want to make out of it. In the same way, adding more of the scenes you need, or adding ones you lack for egos. Once you finish the process, you've got your team. And now there is a last part, which is actually playing it. Theory isn't always perfect, and you might want to change some things if you want to optimize. So there's technically a fourth part, which is adjusting the team to fit your preferences. This can go from changing support units to scratching down the whole core until you're satisfied. Now this process is a general method, but depending on the situation, it can be simplified a lot with steps blending in. Taking back the Blade Lineage example, if your idea is playing the full team, there's not much to think about outside egos and supports. This process is also pretty much the general rule when theorycrafting in any game in my experience, so you can use it in other games as well. But back on Limbus, let's try to summarize it neatly. First, find something you want to play, find some ideas and egos that represent it, add missing members that synergize with them, and enjoy. Adjust stuff while testing if needed until you're satisfied. Simple enough. Of course, you might not have every single ID and ego available to you, so you'll have to do with what you have. If you don't have the key pieces to some concept, you'll have to find alternatives or do something else. Now the question is obviously, what if the ID is like the strongest team possible? Well, then you would need to specify for which content. Some teams can clear every type of content pretty fast, but I don't think they'll be the fastest everywhere. For example, in Railway, if some fights have a high number of /weak enemies, Then you'd want more /AoEs, which you might not want against bosses, for example. So you need to define what is the best team for the content you want to clear, which can also be a strong team to clear everything in general. But well, that's why you have 20 slots for teams, to mess up with them. And that's still not enough for me. Right now, options are getting more diverse as new stuff is released, so we have more and more room to try new things, though I do have to mention that power creep might and probably will make older options just not viable past some point. Which you could say is already the case with some of them, especially 2 stars. But well, Limbus isn't that demanding to clear everything, so you can still have fun with your teams and use anyone you want to beat any content. As for things to consider when making the team, especially when completing it, you have to consider if the team functions properly. If it's around some setup, is it doable? Like the ones doing the setup being fast enough. If it's around egos, do you fuel them well enough? And do you fuel most of the egos you might need? If it's around keywords, can you apply enough of it and does it have enough count? Around resonance, can you activate it regularly enough? Those are things you should consider and try to fix when completing the team. It might be different for each team, and you might not see some missing stuff until playing it, which is why you might want to adjust it. Also, when finishing the teams, you should consider support's passive, but since I've done a video about them already, I will not extend myself on them more than necessary. But now, let's try a few examples to put everything in practice. For what type of teams, let's make a few variations. So as concept, let's try something like Envy Resonance, Bleed, Zwei, and Wingbeat. But before any of those, let's start with the easiest example. Blade Lineage. So if I want a full Lineage team, I'd want... Yeah, that's the team. So it's pretty much done. There's still quite a bit of customization in regards to egos and supports. There aren't much alternatives, so if you add poise supports or some slash or general ones, you're good to go. Same for egos, there aren't too many options even if you have everything. If you don't have everything, well, do with what you have. You could play only some BL members, but then that would be a whole different team, with a different ID. Now let's try slightly harder with Envy Resonance. So here you'd want 4 core, IDs that benefit from it, and participate to its glory. So that would include middle members, Pick What Is Cliff, and Multicroc Faust. Technically you could fit in Krakis instead, but that'd be a shame. Then to round up, some of the most common ones include Captain Ishmael, with an Envy skill 1 and good synergy with Resonance and Heathcliff, though you could keep Ishmael for support or actually use her. DHG Rodion, whose skill 2 with discard can come up more often than skill 1s, or another bleed ID if you want to have 5 of them for mirror dungeons, like Pequod Yisang or Princess Rodion with Exnail. This ego helps a lot with having a default Envy option outside skills, and so do Faust's Exnail and Bodysuck. Overall, you'd prefer IDs with either a skill 1 or a defensive skill of the consent scene to get it more often. To complete with supports, there can be specific things helping the game plan, like Ishmael support increasing counters, useful for middle down, BL or Pequod Yisang useful for Pequod Heath, charge increasing support for Crack Faust, and then the usual. Next, let's do it for Bleed. So Bleed isn't necessarily as clear cut, especially with the new additions, and it's a good example to show a few things. First, which IDs would end up being core? It might depend on your preferences, assuming you have everything. Like Ring Sang and Red Eyes Rershu are some of the strongest IDs not only for Bleed, but in general, but you could also go for the Blood Fiend group. And in the end, you might as well have both, though you might like Bleed count outside MD. Then you could finish with Rhino Muscles for your anime Kala. Fun thing is, this doesn't take into account the upcoming Dawn's ID, which should be pretty strong technically. So that brings up the case of updating the team. Because we're in a live service game, and new elements are brought into the game about every 2 weeks right now. So with the new addition, the team has to be changed. Which also means here that I would have to choose between one of the Blood Fiends, Rapier Shoe with Contempt How, Mersault for Anime Kala, or Ring Sang. So yes, a choice to make. That might change quite a few things. This choice is made on different criteria, like bleed count infliction, scene management, or total damage. I won't risk myself on it as long as I don't have full numbers, but I doubt I can just pass her and her Anime Kala. But well, what I want to say is that team building evolves, especially when power creep is factually embraced, meaning stronger options will appear. So that will be it for Bleed. We had relevant egos such as Exnail, and Bleed or general support. Next would be Zwei IDs, but I wanna reduce it to a few members, mostly Zwei, Ishmael and Gregor, and make it the core. Building the team is interesting. If you wanna go the MD route, you can try and fill it with full Tremor, since Ishmael and Sinclair joined the Tremor ranks not that long ago. For the sake of novelty, let's focus on defense level up as a whole. Rodia and old Sinclair are clearly not on the list, however new Sinclair is clearly suited, and then Faust could, or at least for support. But then, we are lacking clear options to help, since, long story short, we're missing more Zwei members. So let me make a quick search. So among IDs and egos with defense level up, we find Pequod Ishmael, as well as Iskiv's Binds and Mersault's Electric Screaming passives. Unfortunately, we already have an Ishmael, though if you only wanna play Gregor, that's interesting. But we can try to play around the other two, adding an Iskif and a Mersault. If we go full tank and to get some envy for Electric Screaming, Pequod and Middle are great, though Wild Hunt Iskif and Sang Mersault are strong general units that add more damage and able to proc Resonance with the rest of the team. So I think I'd prefer them, even if I won't benefit from Electric Screaming then. Well, regret is better anyway. As for another 6 member, if I'd rather have Faust in support, I could bring a generally good ID with similar scenes, like Red Eyes Rushu or W Dawn, or maybe something with more RAS for scene resources, like the Glue. Overall, it looks more like a general team with Zwei tanks, but playing around with binds might make for an interesting combination. Because of the lack of support though, it's still somewhat lacking, but I have no doubt that by the time they add more Zweis, it will become a viable archetype. For now, you can just add general tank or damage support. Since they are tanks, adding healing egos for both is great, such as Wingbeat and Lanterns, or Fluid Sac if you take Faust. And to finish, let's build around Wingbeat. You can guess I wanted to do this one. What we want is to be able to use it often, and make it roll more heads. When building around an ego, you have to make sure it can be fueled. This one is a net, and doesn't cost much, so it's not that big of a deal. But what you can do, and what I will do, is build around its main scene, which is Gluttony. Ah, Gluttony, the scene of rupture. So that's obviously what we are not gonna do. Again, in MD might be nice, because keywords are overwhelming there. But I've built Gluttony teams before, and they mostly revolve around Onglu, Otis and Gregor, the payoff being numerous ego uses. With Faust Lasso, this can be a possibility as well. But first we have to choose an ID for Ishmael, and support for Wingbeat. As I said, we want to make it roll more heads, so we'd want passives regenerating SP on hit. Those mostly include Ring Sang, the highest one with up to 18 SP, Battle Faust with 12 at most, and I guess I should mention Ishmael's own Bygone Days passive that can help as well. So I guess playing Sinking is a way to do it, though Sinking doesn't have too much gluttony at the moment. Molar Ishmael is still a good pick, Pequod Ishmael as well for bleed, though she is more subject to SP fluctuation, and Zwei Ishmael is benefiting the most from the healing. Of course, I'm not mentioning other IDs. I'll pick Zwei for now, but that's something that can be changed during testing. Afterwards, I'd want IDs for the sinners mentioned. Since I won't have Sinking, I don't need Battle Faust as support, so having 7 Faust is an option for Gluttony, even if you won't have much Rupture. Then K-Corp for Onglu and both Blood Fiends for Gregor and especially Otis, because I'd rather play it than their save an ID. The more time passes, the more I'm considering Pequod Ishmael to use Wingbeat in Blade comps. But anyway, now we can finish the team with a 6 member, so let's say Sinclair. When doing comps based on scenes, you'd rather have defensive skills of that scene after all, and it fits Gluttony, while having a Gluttony ego. So that's the look of the team, with a few more supports here and there, for SP mostly because of ego usage. So that's about it for the examples. Those come mostly from my own preferences and were clearly not optimized. For time gain, my own, I didn't go through the whole testing phase. But as I said, it would mostly be about see how it comes out in practice and make some changes or throw the whole team out. For example, in the Wingbeat team, if I find bleed to be usable, I might change some IDs to be more bleed focused, notably Pequod Ishmael. So some people might ask, why would we play those instead of just the most efficient team? I don't know, you found the meaning of life yet? Because meanwhile, I'll play stuff for fun. I mainly talk from personal opinion, but as a lover of discovering potential, yes, even this one, I love thinking, checking stuff, and making it work. Fulfills the achievement part of my psyche. So in conclusion, do what you want with your teams. As I said, it's mostly about having fun. If you don't care about team building, just put in any ideas with a common keyword, ask someone else, or do a golden rule. But if you do care about it, or are intrigued about what would come out of some ideas or ego's potential, or even in other games, I hope this video helped, or at least entertained you. So, I know I put this one on the screen, but how do I say it? Potential is sometimes left unfulfilled. Forever. Yep. And that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Final message. I thought I'd have more things to say on the theory part when picking this topic, but well, most of it ended up being practice. It's fine, I think it's important to get a clear picture of it. Anyway, I don't know what next topic would be. If you got suggestions, you can comment about it. I will at the very least read them. I did slow analysis videos, and I should stay at a slow pace. Probably won't be more videos by the end of the year. But I have a few project plans that I hope to realize next year, some outside of Limbus. I am still a game dev. Subscribe and check the community tab for more news. In any case, see you next time, and keep your sanity high in this slow descent into the inferno.